Assalamu alaikum and welcome to Checkpoint Coffee. Another episode brings us another topic, and this time it's a topic that is going to be discussed by the majority of the Emmen team. Say hello, Mika, Tasin, and Iham.
Hello.
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 And I'm your host, Moon. So, today is the day we're going to be talking about a game of the year. Our personal pick for what should be game of the year this year. And I'm going to start things off by throwing it over to our man, Tasin. So, how has this year been for you? What is the cream of the crop for you for 2023 in terms of gaming?
2023 has been definitely a wild year for gaming. We've had like non-stop like solid bangers one after the other, and it's very difficult this time around because there are like most of like what came out this year are really good games. So what I settled on like game of the year after very difficult time is Baldur's Gate 3. I know it's a popular pick, but it's popular for a reason. It's the same reason why someone would say like Fullmetal Alchemist Brotherhood is a very popular and yet a very good anime, and I would still agree. Yes, it's a very good anime. It's the same with Baldur's Gate 3 because the game itself is quite an experience in a way. It's a very sandbox game. The game reacts to you like in very wild scenarios. Like you would think, okay, if I do this, can I break the game? If I kill this character, like will this character appear in the next act where this character is supposed to appear, right? And the game just makes up for it by canonically having another character take up this place, or making some events that make sense in the story of the game. So the sandbox part of the game is really good, and also the role-playing aspect of the game is also brilliant because the world of Faerun is very cool in a way. Like there are lots of political stuff involved. Without getting too much into the spoiler territory, I will just say like it's sort of a hot mess, but it reflects the real world politics in a way where it makes you the player more how should I put it? It makes you feel like you are actually making decisions that impact like things that are outside of your control, right? So in a way, it's more like consequential. For instance, if you do certain things early on in the game, and the way this same action is reflected back to you is pretty cool. And you can choose to interact with all these events, all these characters in almost any way you like. And not to mention the fact that almost all the characters and almost all the cutscenes are voice acted, and the voice acting is just top notch. Like Baldur's Gate 3 has one of the, if not like the best voice acting 2023 has to offer in terms of like gaming. It's really solid. And then the soundtrack itself is like it's really cool. Even from the get-go, like the character creation screen soundtrack, it's pure bliss. So yeah, this is why it's a difficult choice for sure because there were a lot of other games, but yeah, this is why Baldur's Gate 3 deserves to be the game of the year.
Baldur's Gate 3, great pick. And I think to a lot of people, an expected pick, but still, it is expected, as you said, for a reason. It is just that good. But now I'm going to throw it over to our man, Iham. So, Iham, what is your pick for Game of the Year 2023?
So looking back in 2023, I would say this is the most fun I had with games, and one of them is actually my Game of the Year pick. And I think that's one of the games which most people don't know about, which is Octopath Traveler 2, and it released around February. So the game is about 8 different characters with their own story, motive, and overarching plot. I played the demo when it got released, and the demo lets you play the chapter of each of the 8 travelers. I actually did a demo impression feature which you can all check about. The demo was so good that it convinced me to buy the game, and I never expected the game to be this good. Each of the stories are good in its own way, and it's different and also deals with different topics. It's really engaging. Like there is one who wants to end poverty in the world, one who wants to become a world famous dancer, or another one who wants to get her freedom. Looking back, there were 3 games that I had the most fun with, and the reason why Octopath is on that list is because of the turn-based combat. The combat is all about figuring out what the enemy is weak to and breaking the shield as soon as possible. Each of the 8 characters have their own classes, and you can give a secondary class as part of the job system, which is I think seen in all the JRPGs, and this is my first experience with it. Autopart is also the second game for me which I played, which has the pixel art, and damn, I didn't expect the pixel art to be this good. The game has what you refer to as HD 2D graphics, and I can't count the amount of time the game managed to surprise me with it. And there's the music, which is very good. I wanted to highlight that there are 2 iterations of each of the songs for day and night. And the transition of the song that happens when you change the time is so damn smooth. Like, if in the daytime there's a very high beat, when you change it to nighttime, it's smoothly transition into a very slow beat. Overall, I think I could say that this is my first experience with a traditional JRPG, and my experience is really good. So yeah, Octopath Traveler 2 is a masterpiece, and I highly recommend for everyone to play it. At the end, I would say I look forward for the review of the game.
Oh, I'm certainly looking forward to the review of it myself. I have had my eye on that game as well, and it sounds like you had a great time, and very happy to see that turn-based RPGs have a place at the Emmen Gaming Game of the Year episode. That's great. Now, that brings us over to you, Mika. What are you cooking over there?
Like the others were saying, this has been a great year for gaming. I've actually gotten back into the swing of things more than I thought I would. So I'm going to ask you all a question. So when it comes to open world game design, what do you think of first? Like, what sort of game design pops into your head?
Elden Ring, I guess.
Skyrim.
Dark Souls.
Which
See, that's very interesting, right? Elden Ring, I think, is more aligned to what I chose myself. But when it comes to games like Skyrim and Witcher, I think they fall into the category of the old GTA and Ubisoft design. We have markers and you go to them and you do your stuff, right? And I kind of dislike that thing. Like, I gotten very sick of all the open world games because it essentially feels like a checklist. And that's why my pick of the year is actually Tears of the Kingdom, which is an evolution, I think, of the Skyrim design. Or in this case, the closest thing I can think of is actually the Elden Ring design, because it doesn't lead you by markers itself, right? Now, there's a huge influx of videos on how the design of these games go about, but I'm just going to talk specifically about the design of Tears of the Kingdom itself. Breath of the Wild had some pretty good stuff as well. I'm not sure if you guys know, but they worked on this principle of triangles and landmarks, so that the triangle landmarks actually block your view, but as you approach, say, a mountain, which is a triangle, you'd start to see more landmarks and you're naturally guided to that stuff. Now, the reason why I feel like it's a game of the year is because it evolves on that open world formula. It still has all the stuff from Breath of the Wild, but in addition to that, it works on like 3 layers. You have the Sky Islands, you have the main turn itself, and then you have the dead. And each of these 3 layers actually creates a feedback loop into each other, so that when you're working on one thing in one area, it actually leads to progression on other areas. Like shrines on the main world are sort of just pseudo tutorials which teach you how to use your abilities. But the shrines themselves are actually a link to the light routes in the depths below. So if you cleared the depths below and you know where a light route is, you essentially know the location of a shrine on the overworld. And the depths themselves actually expand your energy, so that it allows you to traverse the Sky Islands better, because you now have more energy and more understanding of your abilities to do that. And that's what I'm trying to say, is that unlike most open world games, the reason why I feel like TOTK is the game of the year is because it evolves on that open world formula.
I hear ya. Tears of the Kingdom, another popular pick, but I again think popular for a reason. And with that, I suppose it comes down to me now, with Thunder Toys not being here. Miss you, buddy. But anyway, my game of the year pick is an indie game, because I figured that you guys would take all the big names, right? So my game of the year pick is a game that is called Gravity Circuit. Now, this game should look and feel extremely familiar to fans of the Mega Man X series, right? It is a game where you're a guy who's kind of like a robot or whatever, and you have to beat like 8 or 9 other guys who all have their unique colorings and themings and moves and whatnot, and you can go about approaching these in your own order. You can go about approaching these levels at your own choice. You can go for them in any order, which is pretty interesting. And every time you beat them, you end up getting upgrades. But of course, there are also secrets that you can find along the way. So there's traversal, there's platforming, there's combat, and there's a lot of interesting platforming-related puzzle solving and whatnot. And the bosses are there as well, and I find the whole package to be really, really good. According to my research, it's been a while since we've seen a game that takes what Mega Man X brought to the table and just does anything with it. So it's really nice to see something like that in a while. And not only is it nice to see this, but it's also polished to perfection, I think, because you have so many game systems that kind of feed into each other, and like if you're trying to do one thing, it'll reward you in another way, which will kind of encourage you to try this something else. And there's so much like build variety, a lot of different moves, and a bunch of achievements to unlock, which are really fun. And personally, like, this is my first time experiencing the whole Mega Man X thing of when you beat the boss, you get to use their full moves thing, and I really, really ended up loving that, right? So, not to mention the music as well. Like, it's a full-on 8-bit kind of OST, and I find it to be very endearing. I find the boss theme especially to be quite cool. And when you're really like in the zone and just dodging every attack and just landing some of your own, it kind of makes you feel really like, you are some kind of badass, and I think that's really awesome. Now, in terms of difficulty, I expected this game to be quite challenging, considering that it is a modern iteration of a classic game, but somehow it is quite accessible, and one of the things that makes it more accessible than I imagined is the fact that you are able to change your build to kind of make the game a little bit easier for you, whether it is extending the invincibility duration of taking damage, or taking less damage from the environment, or taking damage to being able to hit further, or a lot of different things that ended up enhancing the game experience. So overall, I think that Gravity Circuit is a phenomenal game that maybe not a lot of people have tried out, but y'all should try this game. It is so good. It's so much fun to play. And that is my pick for a Game of the Year this year, 2023. But I don't think we're at the end. So many games came out that it would feel kind of bad to let things go without at least an honorable mention. So I'm going to throw it over to you guys. Do you have any other titles you want to mention before we end things for this episode?
Yes, I think I have some honorable mentions, because as you've all said, this has been a crazy year for like video gaming. So going to my honorable mentions, I would first pick Quest for the Unbound. Is a game that came out in like March or June, but it's an indie game developed by Mohican Studios. It's an extremely emotional game, and it's one of those games where after you beat the game, you actually feel like you've played something very life-changing almost, because there's so much emotion attached to that game. Not just the emotional part as well, the gameplay itself is very innovative in a way that it makes you literally dive into certain mechanics of the game in a very interesting way. I wouldn't talk much about the game here, but there's a full review of the game out, so you guys can check it out. So Quest for the Unbound is one of the honorable mentions, and the other one, can I choose two?
I mean, I'm trying to give everybody one chance, but do you have another one? Sure, let's hear it.
Okay, so for this one, I'll just go with Alan Wake 2, because this game is, I'm playing it right now, and it's blowing my mind. It's blowing my mind in all the good ways, because this game is an extremely gritty, very noir detective horror game. If you've watched True Detective Season 1, then this is the game for you, and it's very good in a way that it mixes this cinematic storytelling, these narrative elements into the game like you've never seen a game does this. The game just narrates what you are doing live on screen on a late night TV show, on a live stage, and you're just acting it out. You're just going through the motions, and it feels so real. It feels like you are on the stage, you are in this performance, you are literally in the shoes of Alan Wake, right? And it's done very, very well. The only reason I would not pick Alan Wake 2 for GOTY is because I am not really enjoying like to the most. I'm not enjoying as much as I should be. Like the combat system, like it's
Well, I mean, it's a horror game. You understand why you don't enjoy it.
it is exactly. I'm very weak. I'm very weak in this genre. But yeah, this is my honorable mention. The second one, Alan Wake 2. So yeah, those two are my honorable mentions.
I am very happy that Alan Wake 2 came back from the proverbial graveyard because that was a really great game when it came out, Alan Wake 1. Mika, you got anything for us?
If you don't mind, I'm just going to quickly list a lot of stuff, but I'm actually going to pick one from here because I feel like it deserves a mention, even if I'm going to expand in one. So, Taksin has already gone over Fates for the Unbound, but there are some other indie games that I think are very good that we got this year. Dredge is one. The Legend of Tian Diang, Coffee Talk Episode 2, Hibiscus and Butterfly, Like a Dragon Nation, the one that's set in the past. But my pick actually has to be Lies of... And just like what happened with Tears of the Kingdom, I think what's happening here is that instead of doing the same basic old formula, like when you think of Souls formula, it's like disparate, like everything's broken and disconnected, and you sort of have to piece it out and figure it out by exploring a vaster area. But in Lies of P, everything is more straightforward. It's like so it's kind of like the Genshin.
Yeah, I was just thinking, exactly. It's very interesting. It gives a lot of interesting strategies, and you can also combine any of the monsters to make one super monster, and this also comes with its own like plus points and negatives, right? So all in all, I found this game to be really interesting, and that is before mentioning the absolute banger of a soundtrack. And I mean, it's called Cassette Beasts. It's gotta have good music, right? And it does. It's got so many catchy themes. It's got a lot of really nice like instrumental, but there's also some vocal themes in there for fans of games like Persona 5 who might really resonate with that. So I think that this is a game also worth mentioning. They really took the monster catching, monster hunting genre and just did something really special with it here. Now, with that said, Ayam, what about you? What is your honorable mention or mentions?
So my pick for honorable mention is the other game that I had the most fun with, and it's Marvel Spider-Man 2. It was a very hard decision for me to pick between Spider-Man 2 and Not to Part, but hey, I figured I might pick the one which I had the most fun with. Story was so good. We got both Peter and Miles, and each of them have their own stuff going on with their life. And I want to say, Tony Todd did an amazing and frightening job voicing Venom. One of the problems that I had with the game is that there are less Venom dialogue. I wanted to hear more of that deep, frightening voice, which sound a bit weird, but anyway.
Well, now we know what you listen to in your bedroom.
Oops, I might have slipped it.
Oops, indeed. So
Many of the teams that were in the first game were also in the second game with a bit of improvement and less new stuff. The combat was fun, and the addition of web wings, which is like a wingsuit, made traveling through New York more fun. I won't say the game managed to yet again do the one thing people hope. It really made me be Spider-Man again. And also I want to point out Spider-Man 2 also have one of my gaming moments of 2023, but I don't want to spoil that moment because it's really good. So yeah, Spider-Man 2 honorable mention. I would have talked more about the game, but I'm keeping them for the review, so please look forward to it.
Oh, I certainly am. Now, before we end things, I think Thunder Toys left us a message. Dasin, you wanna be the one to deliver it?
yeah. So Thunder Toys actually has his pick for the game of the year, which is Resident Evil 4, surprisingly, which is it's hard to believe the game came out this year, right? Because we've had so many good games come out this yeah. Resident Evil 4 came out this year, so for the second time, I believe. Yeah, the remake.
Resident Evil 4 remake, yeah.
So that's Thunder Toys pick for game of the year, because that's like his words, and I quote, "This is how a remake should be done," and it like delivered perfectly. So his pick for game of the year is Resident Evil 4. He was going to talk more about Baldur's Gate 3, but I beat him to it. Thunder Toys, you're not here, so yeah, sucks. All right. So I would like to wrap up with just one more pick, because this year has certainly been a crazy year for sure. Super Mario Bros. Wonder. Yeah, that's an honorable mention, because if you have like someone who plays the Nintendo Switch with you, like just get Super Mario Bros. Wonder and play it together. It's a, how do I put it simply? It's a celebration of everything Mario. It's like an improvement on Mario, like visually, gameplay wise, even the level design and how the game feels, and it plays like a celebration. Like every level, it's something different, something new, something fun you can do together, something challenging. And it's amazing. It's brilliant. You will just be laughing when you play this game. It's a pretty solid pick. Yeah. So I'm done renting. That's another pick.
All right. Well, if there's any other game you want to throw in the list, anybody, it is your opportunity to step in. Anyone?
Don't you have a pick? I know you have a very special connection to WarioWare.
Yeah, so in this podcast, I have mentioned 3 games that I had the most fun with, and the last game in that list is Honkai Star Rail. 2023 is the year for turn-based combat for me, and that Star Rail's combat was very fun for me. It has 2 different classes where each character have an element and class which really changes how the combat works. There are healer, defenders, and of the main classes, and the story is engaging. The worlds look very nice. The game has a space team, and unlike Genshin, this game has a semi-open world, which I'm not complaining about. Other than that, yeah, Taral is a really good game, and I'm really looking forward to continue playing this. And we had made 2 reviews of the game, 2 different reviews, and you can check it out.
Yeah, so like I have mentioned, like 2023 is his entry to turn-based combat, and 2024 is going to be his entry into strategic turn-based combat. Looking forward to it.
One can hope. That's it. One can hope.
All right. Before we end our Game of the Year podcast, I'm going to mention a game that came out this year. All right. In my head, I like to call this Skyrim 2, but in the real world, it's called Starfield. Starfield was a game in 2023. It had graphics and characters and gameplay and space, and you had to play it slowly or fast. And it had a beginning, a middle, and an end, and that's it.
Oh my god.
Starfield. It came out this year.
I was hyping Starfield in all of our podcasts. Now I am at the end of the year with shame.
I'm not dissing this game. I'm just describing it as the most middle-of-the-line experience I can. So yes, Starfield was a game of 2023. Well done. You did.
So was Diablo. Well, I guess Diablo 4 was mostly empty, right? It was not well done. We did have fun with it though.
We had fun with it.
Definitely. Fixing the worst barbarian. Now that was a good dream. Now, you guys, with that, we've come to the end of the episode. Games of the Year, Emmen Gaming. You heard it here first. Thank you very much for joining us, and same goes for you, Emmen team. And we hope to see you again soon for the next episode. Bye-bye.
See ya.
Bye.
See you.
And that brings us to the end.
That's going to be it for this episode of Checkpoint Coffee. Thanks for listening, folks. Give us a like and subscribe if you're listening to us on YouTube. We'll meet you again next month for more gaming and pop culture reviews and discussions.